Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Vesey Total Grassroots Football Podcast, brought to you by VO.co. My name's Gary, I am the host, and we are a brand new podcast across the airwaves. We are talking to guests over the next weeks and months about their own little corner of grassroots football, and we're a bit of a knowledge share, right? We want to help all these clubs and organisations growing exponentially, love that word, post-pandemic. And today it's all about how to run a successful sports touring company. So we are joined by Martyn Young, Director of ESF Events. Martyn, how are you?
I'm very well. And you, Gary?
I'm good, thank you. People can't see, I'm obviously sitting in a studio right now. I'll be honest, it's about 38 degrees.
It's pretty warm, isn't it?
Yeah, so give me autumn any day. So let's kick straight in because we've got loads to talk about. Give me a bit of a rundown. Who are ESF Events? Like, what do you do for the people that don't know what a sports touring company is?
Sure. Yeah, we're a specialist tour operator based in the Midlands, and essentially it's sort of a split business. So the business side where we make money is as a tour operator. So we take over very large holiday centres and fill their beds. But the other side of the business, in order to make that all work, is that we're an events company as well. So to fill the holiday centres, we stage large sporting festivals, football, rugby league and rugby union, but the biggest of which is ESF, the football festival.
Right.
Where we're joined by about 1,000 to 1,200 teams each year.
Okay,
we
cool.
stage a series of events around the UK, Butlins and Haven holiday centres, with grassroots football teams from the under 7s to under 15s age group. So it's under 7s to under 14s for boys, under 9s to under 15s for girls.
Okay.
And we organise large touring festivals for teams at these holiday centres.
So you approach like the clubs that have all of these under 8s, under 9s, whatever it is, teams, and they submit their teams, or they send their teams down for like a camp or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
like a football festival.
For a weekend.
And what's involved there? Oh, okay. So you also organise, I'm assuming, then the accommodation, like you said, because that's the touring company side of it, the booking side of it.
Absolutely.
And then what's involved in these festivals? What's actually, is it just one big tournament, or is there a whole heap going on?
Yeah, so obviously the basis of it is the football tournament itself. So people travel down on a Friday after school, get checked in at the holiday centre. There's a 2-day tournament on the Saturday and the Sunday. Typically we'll have at each event around 200 teams from all over the UK who are there, each playing in their own age group. So they'll play football on the Saturday and on the Sunday. When the football finishes each day, they're back into the holiday centre. So it's swimming pool, evening entertainment and everything like that. Go through to our final stages, the playoffs on the Sunday afternoon. And then everyone comes back into the resort where we stage celebrity presentation ceremonies to close the festival.
Right.
So they're up on stage with ex-pros. So it's the likes of Robert Pires, John Barnes, Ian Wright have been down to give out awards, Casey Stoney, Sue Smith as well.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a really exciting weekend for the kids. They're coming to big football tournaments. Probably bigger than they experience back home, but they've also got the touring side of it as well. So they're away on tour with their teammates. The families all come as well and stay for the weekend. So you've got the whole, it's the football and the entertainment. It's a weekend of football and fun, really.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great.
Head home on the Monday morning.
Yeah. Slightly sunburnt and
a few heavy heads with the parents, but that's right.
So how did it all start? Like, how long have you been around? Give me the
So our first event was in 1989. So we've been around a while.
Great.
And it's a family business. My dad started it. So I'm one of 4 brothers who were sports mad. We all played football, and he volunteered on the local committee for Mowbray Rangers Football Club, where we're based in Melton Mowbray. And he was tasked
the land of pork pies, right?
Indeed, yeah, and Stilton cheese as well. Yeah, we've got a lot there. Yeah. So he was tasked with organising the tour for the club. And the best solution he could find for a group of sort of 10 to 15-year-olds at that time was a trip to Butlins, Bognor Regis on the south coast. And he took about 200 of Mowbray Rangers, players and parents down for the weekend. And while he was there, one of the Butlins guys said to him, "You could have an idea here, Alan. What about running a tournament?" So the next year he sent some invitations out, and I think it was 120 teams and 3,500 people arrived. And he realised he was onto something. So he spread into a couple of other holiday centres as well. And it sort of built from there. And I actually took part in the early events with my teammates, which was great. And then after graduating in around 2000, myself and my older brother came in and sort of took over things. And it's the same basic principle. Things have moved on a lot over time. It's become a more professionally run event.
Sure.
But it's the same fundamentals of what was started back then. And we're now doing around 10 to a dozen events a year.
Great.
Mainly based at Butlins and Haven. Then we have a grand finale, our Champion of Champions event, which is at St George's Park, the England training ground. So that's a great experience for grassroots kids to be able to qualify for that if they win their age groups when they're on tour.
Yeah, and what does it mean for the kids and obviously the parents as well? This is obviously a community building event, right? And nationally as well. Obviously, it's a great business model, but what does it mean for the kids and the parents getting involved?
Yeah, it's just a massive team bonding experience. And you say the right thing there. It's not just the kids, it's the parents as well. So a lot of these teams will be familiar with, you meet up for a game at the weekend, the parents are on the sidelines for 2 hours together. What's great about our events is it brings the whole team together, with the sidelines, the coaches, everyone together for a weekend. And for the kids, it's a great experience. I remember my school days, that one of the things I remember is the school trips. And it's a bit like this. So you're away, you're on a trip together, which is exciting. You're with your teammates, who are some of your best friends. So they're memories that sort of last a lifetime when they're away. And that's the really rewarding thing of the side of our business. Is we're doing something that people really remember. And you have people who have gone through the whole cycle. So they came when they were 7, 8, 9, 10. They're now coaching. They remember the events, and you get a call.
Yeah,
and say, I came in such and such a year. We're back on, and we get, I'm sorry, Garen.
No, and I guess it's kind of like separated from that school mentality as well, right? It's not that it's a school camp and they all go away with their class. This is almost like a mini football holiday for the kids.
Yeah, absolutely, and with all the parents there as well, which is for our age bands, our typical age bands, under 7s to under 14s, but it's sort of a pyramid in the middle. So getting all the parents away as well is great, and they enjoy it as much as the kids. Some aren't too keen on the idea at first, but once they get there, it's it's a really great experience for the whole club. And we get a lot of clubs who come year after year now who know how much the children benefit from it and the team benefit from it. So it's
I've spoken to a whole bunch of parents as to why they get their kids involved in football. And you're totally right. I think at first they're like, oh God, I've got to get up a Saturday morning and stand there in the sidelines and be quiet as well. But I think actually, once they're there, they probably absolutely love it. It's a haven holiday, great. That's a English staple holiday there.
Absolutely,
and Butlins as well. Butlins will never die. But including a football festival as part of that, it sounds like it's a great motivator for kids. Even if they've been in football for a couple of years and they're getting a bit tired from it. It's just the same old thing. Maybe this kind of reinvigorates their energy into the whole grassroots football again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. Individually, and that's clubs use it that way to keep kids engaged, if you like. All of our events are staged at the end of the season, so it's something to build up to as the season goes on. And we attract teams of all abilities, so we'll get some of the top grassroots clubs in the country, but equally we'll get a lot of lower division teams who are there for a great experience, a bit of fun at the end of the season, and it sort of works for everyone. So,
and how do you do it? Do you then pick a region and then go, right, we're going to host a festival here, and then you approach all of the clubs locally? Or does a club come to you and say, hey, we'd like you to host a festival on behalf of us?
No, it's done. We have agreements with the holiday centres, essentially.
Sure.
So we, at the moment, we stage them at 4 holiday centres, which are sort of strategically placed around the UK. So we've got Butlins Skegness on the east coast. We have Butlins Bognor Regis on the south coast.
Oh, mate, you're hitting the hits here. Skegness and Bognor Regis, right?
All the big spots, yeah. And then we have Haven up in Ayr in Scotland as well.
Brilliant.
So we're sort of spread quite nicely. And essentially, we then put out, at the start of the year, we'll put out, this is the ESF 2022 calendar, and we put it out nationwide, across the whole of the UK. And then teams come to us as to who wants to book in. So, and it happens earlier and earlier. Teams are booking in. So our next events are sort of April and May 2022. There's already over 750 teams signed up for next year. I think a lot of that people are booking so early because of what's happened over the last couple of years with the pandemic.
Absolutely. We'll dig into that in a second.
They're just really looking for something positive to set up for the kids now as they return to football next year. So
and I think kind of like the investment at a consumer level around domestic travel is going up rather than international travel, right? And I think they're looking to, add a bit more value or a bit more, excitement into going to a haven static caravan kind of thing, right? So I think, obviously you're seeing a whole probably amount of growth, huge growth over the next 6, 12, 18 months. But what has it been like over the last 18 months?
Yeah, it's been unbelievably challenging. There's not many businesses that have been hit hard as hard as ours has, I would say, or our industry has. So
I'm guessing you kind of sit in with like the travel accommodation industry, right? Where no one's booking hotels.
Yeah, the difficult thing for us is our events are all in a very condensed time of year as well. So that they're all in April and May for the end of the season. So when the pandemic first hit, the first year got wiped out, which was tough. And then we've just lost, obviously, all this year's events because things didn't quite open up in time. So essentially, we've lost 2 years of trading, which as a company is incredibly challenging. But we were in a very strong position before. We were able to do the right thing by all of our customers, ensure nobody missed out and everyone got full refunds for the cancelled events. So the goodwill that's come from that is sort of reflected in, I think, the 2022 bookings as we look ahead. And there's a real positive sort of feel going forward. It's not a case that obviously growth is huge from the last 2 years. Has been nothing. We're trying to return to where we were, which was a position of real strength back in 2019 when we last ran the events. And it's looking good for 2022, I have to say. So we're excited to get back out there.
Yeah. How did you kind of get over it all, or was it a matter of it was your interested audience that kind of came back to you and just started boosting everything? Or did you have to put new things in place? Have you changed as a business now coming out of this whole COVID era?
I think everyone's changed to a degree how you operate as a business, and we're not quite out of it yet, to be honest with you. So we're slowly returning to normal, but the product's the same. We believe in the product, and I think we know it fits for our core audience, for our the kids of that age and the teens. So that's what we're trying to return to. I mean, every year we try and change a bit. We try and look at the events and see how can we make them a little bit more special.
Yeah, it's all about innovation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's some great people out there to take ideas from. And so for us, we're a grassroots event. These are grassroots teams, but we try and look at things professionally. So we take our leads from the Premier League and from, the big companies, the Nikes and whatnot. What are they doing? How can we add a bit of magic along those lines into the events to make an experience for the children? So really tough times. It has been over the last 2 years, but certainly it's given us time to start to think about how we put the events together for next year. And behind all that, I think parents really appreciate the value of sport and grassroots sports for the children. That's what everyone's learned. Nobody wants the kids to have gone through.
Yeah, and rubbing shoulders with other kids and other parents, right?
Yeah, having not been able to do that and play with their kids, play with the teammates for however long it was. That's where people are really seeing the value of that. And I hope the grassroots football will return in such a strong way. I'm sure it will.
Absolutely.
Next September when we have a full season. Certainly we're seeing that at our side. So
I think there's a massive focus on grassroots at the moment, right? I think, you see the success that we had with Euro 2020 and that kind of now goes full circle, kind of football has dropped to absolute zero, but there's now a focus on that grassroots because that's where it all starts, right?
It does.
Yeah, don't feel like I am a member of the Dragon's Den, but what do you see as success? Like, what's the success look like for ESF Events?
For us, it's I think we've been doing it for so long. It's not a business that is driven by profits as such. We're a successful business in that side, but success is laying on just great events and getting really good feedback from teams, which you do. The best thing for us is you get back after a weekend away and teams are lining up to book in again for the next year. And the feedback you hear, especially across social media now, because it's so instant, the feedback that you get. So success is providing experiences for children and parents that hopefully they remember for years and years. And I think in the majority of cases they do. Yeah,
absolutely. And not to kind of like take competition away from you, but let's say there are clubs out there that want to dip their toe in the water, right? To kind of see if this kind of football festival element works well for their clubs. To then, if that does work well, then they get it professionally done by you guys or go and be involved with one of the 4 areas around the country. What are some of the tips and tricks? How should they go about organising their own club football festival away at a holiday camp? Is it even possible? Are there some challenges that you really need to look at around policy and documentation? What can they do?
I think probably as a club, it's probably not going to be possible. It's more of a business-led because of the size of the events. But as a club, they can certainly organise their own tour. As I sort of explained at the start, how the business started. whereby, my dad organised a trip for a number of teams from the club. They booked, accommodation in a local area and arranged friendly fixtures against local teams. And that's still a great experience for the children. On a base level, taking them all away, it creates quite a lot of work for the.
It sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like the treasurer and the secretary have got to put some time in, right?
Absolutely, and collecting in the money themselves and things like that as well. There's sort of different angles to look at. So you've got to look at financial security when you're doing that sort of thing. Most clubs obviously have their own home tournaments, which work fantastically well over the summer. You'll see clubs hosting sort of 5-a-side, 6-a-side, and throughout the year, the mini soccer festivals as well. So they're used to staging their own events. But I think throwing in booking accommodation as well is another dynamic, so it does create more work.
And what challenges
for people?
Yeah, what challenges have you had to overcome, and therefore then what processes have you put in place to kind of avoid that challenge again when doing this kind of? Obviously, these guys are going to be doing a much smaller scale, right? They're not going to have 750 teams. It might be a couple of teams that are going to go away and have their own little festival with other people in their different region. But what challenges have you had to overcome over the 20, 30 odd years that you've been around?
Yeah, well, we've been through it all, and you think that you've been through it all, and then you experience.
And then COVID comes along.
Yeah, we haven't quite seen that one coming. But I guess our processes have sort of grown as we've gone over the years. So when we went back a few years ago, it used to be that the group leader would book everything for everyone. So if you were the contact for your local team, you come on. Yes, you can book in. You've got to sort all the accommodation. You've got to collect in all the money yourself. Then you've got to send over all the personal details of everyone. Yeah. Our systems nowadays are sort of a bit, having worked with Butlins and Haven, our key partners, they're a bit more streamlined so that you can register the team. You then get sent a link online. Each parent can log in and book their own accommodation, but they're all linked together. So it sort of makes it much easier.
Is an accommodation partner. They obviously are involved. They obviously have their own processes around booking platforms and stuff. That needs to somehow link into who's staying where, make sure there's parents and obviously all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It sounds there's a lot of moving parts that obviously needs to be led by an organisation like yourselves, right?
Yeah, and they're not, to be honest, in the scale of our events, there's huge input from Butlins and Haven as well on the accommodation side of things. I think if a club is considering doing it themselves as well, you need to think about where you're going to and what you want to do. So you can do a city break. You can go and, let's have a weekend in Manchester or a weekend at the coast or whatnot, stay in a nice hotel. But then you've got to think, what is there for the kids to do in this nice hotel? Which is why sort of the holiday centre sort of concept works really well in terms of entertainment and everything that's involved. We have considered do we do big city tournaments or do we go that way? But actually, for our product for Grassroots, we think where we're pitched at the moment works really well. So that's where we are. So certainly, I wouldn't discourage clubs from trying something. Hosting a tournament at a holiday centre becomes a business. Yeah, you're going to get involved with contracts, and you're going to have to commit, early to take those accommodation units with a financial sort of commitment. Sure. Yeah. So that's something that might not. But you could host in your own area, and you get some clubs who are based in sort of areas where they might have holiday centres, and you can invite teams in. It's another way to do it.
It's the economy of scale, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there are various levels that, we're not the only company doing this around the country. There are different levels. So there are some one-off operations where they'll run one event a year and things through to, I think we're the biggest where we've got probably about 40,000 people coming away a year, but it's a full-time business. We've got a full-time set of staff. Yeah. And then we bring in seasonal staff as well to run it all and operate the events while we're away. Yeah, so, sounds huge. There's different levels and all have their value without doubt.
And what is then the future? No, of ESF. Obviously, growth is great, but what's next? Is there something else that you're doing, or what's the future for everybody?
Yeah, so we started purely as a football event, if you like. So over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've diversified a little bit. So we do rugby league events with Leeds Rhinos, where we partner with them. We do rugby union events with Leicester Tigers as well. There's another sport coming into play next year, although it's not been released yet, so I can't but something for the females to look out for, which we're excited about. But really, I think we really believe in the product we've got. And over the years, we've tried other things. We've tried internationally. We've done one over at Disneyland Paris. It sounded fantastic. The whole product, you play football at Disney. The reality is the cost of it was prohibitive for the majority of teams, and it didn't work for our audience. So we really believe where we are is where we want to be. Of course, if there's a chance for a bit of growth as we go, there might be the odd extra event in. We're committed to sort of delivering the quality throughout. So we've already got St George's Park lined up for next year. So bits of extra things like that. We have a new app where, when you're away, the results are posted live. It's the extra bits
amazing. That's exactly what you need.
Excite us now. Yeah, we bring in now sort of a new thing we introduced at the last event was we bring in professional photographers who are Premier League photographers. So the kids are getting action shots that you just wouldn't capture when they're on a grassroots field. So it's all little touches like that, trophies that are sort of next level trophies for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's
trying to make
amazing.
the events as good as they can be, and from a business point of view, get back up and running. We need a solid year next year, which is looking like we're going to have, and then go from there.
That's great. So I've learnt a lot, and I'm sure our listeners have learnt a lot. How do people get in touch if they want to be a part of? I'm assuming now, obviously 2022 because it's filling up a little bit. How can people get in touch? Who do they contact?
Yeah, well, it's just directly in touch with ourselves. So on the website, which is esf.co.uk, you can order a brochure on there and we'll send you some info. You can give us a call, 01664 566 360. Once you're on the mailing list, we'll send you a brochure. All the details of the 2022 festivals are on the website as well. So, I mean, I have to say two of them are full already for boys teams. So they are moving quite quickly, but there will be some availability from the start of the season. It'd be great to welcome some new teams and look forward to next year's events.
Brilliant. Well, you heard it here first. Get amongst it. They are filling up fast. Martyn from ESF Events, thank you very much for being on the Vesey Total Grassroots football podcast, brought to you by VO.co. Listeners, thanks very much for tuning in. Obviously, over the next weeks and months, we will be hosting a whole bunch of guests to talk about their own corner of grassroots football. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Cheers.